Hello, welcome to the Sound of Science, the place where we deconstruct unscientific bogus and silly scams. Let's go get them. Hello there, and thanks for watching. Today we will discuss the ideas of a guy called Jeremy, who thinks that Domino proves the existence of his god. Take it away, Jeremy.
I can prove with these dominoes that God exists, and then you tell me if atheism is dead.
There is something with religious silliness and language laziness. Christian apologists often refer to atheists when they are talking about atheists. This guy says that his God exists. Well, he of course is trying to say that his God exists. And of course your dominoes are not going to prove anything about your supposed God. At best you're going to prove something about those dominoes. How can you not understand that?
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need just one scientific principle to prove that God exists.
There is no scientific principle that proves that your God exists. Either you will demonstrate not to understand a scientific principle, or you will misrepresent a scientific principle, or you will draw the wrong conclusions from a scientific principle. Something along those lines is going to happen.
This little domino system is at rest. Nothing's moving, nothing's changing. It is in equilibrium, and it will stay in equilibrium forever, unless an outside being acts upon it.
Ah, I see you're going for the dishonest approach by misrepresenting science. No, the equilibrium will not be forever unless an outside being acts upon it. You are already trying to smuggle in your God with a language trick. No, the equilibrium will remain in place unless some force acts upon it. That doesn't need to be a being. It could be airflow, gravity, a falling object, etc. It could also be an internal force or process.
Now what happens if I apply a little force right here? A little force, a little nudge was applied, and the system released potential energy. And now it is back at equilibrium. And it will stay at equilibrium forever, until I re-energize the system.
So you repeat your silly language trick. The system will start moving again when some force will act upon it. It doesn't necessarily need you to achieve that. It could be any force. This is such a cheap and obvious language trick. You're trying to set the stage here for a universe needing a being to get into existence. It's so obvious that this is what you're trying to do here.
This is how Newton's first law describes a principle of equilibrium. Objects at rest stay at rest until acted upon by an unbalanced force.
Well, that's only half of Newton's first law of motion. But I guess you indeed should not make this too complicated if you're targeting an audience that believes that dominoes prove the existence of your God.
But it describes the behavior of objects in equilibrium. Imagine the entire physical universe inside this circle.
And again, this is not how to do science. It seems that you're now going to imply that Newton's first law of motion also applies on the scale of the universe, and most physicists agree that it doesn't apply to that scale.
All matter, energy, light, space, and even time inside this circle. Inside the physical universe. Outside, nothing. Not even empty space.
Which makes your analogy of a circle and concepts of within the circle and outside of the circle pointless. If there is nothing outside of the circle, then there is no outside of the circle. It's worse. If there's nothing outside of the circle, then there is no circle. Again, I think you're trying to set the stage here for your supposed God being outside of the universe. But you already failed at that, since you say that there is nothing outside of the universe.
In the beginning, the physical universe was nothing, an equilibrium of nothing.
No, we don't know if there was a beginning, and if so, what that would look like. At least, not the kind of beginning that you, as a Christian apologist, are trying to suggest here. And no, physicists generally do not think that there ever was a point where there was nothing. What physicists think is that the observable universe originated from an extremely hot and dense and small point that we call the cosmic singularity. That is not nothing. So that is yet another misrepresentation of science. And even if there were nothing, then how would you determine if there was an equilibrium? You just described an equilibrium as some sort of system in balance with itself or its environment. But if there is no system or environment to assess, then relative to what is there an equilibrium?
The physical universe was nothing, an equilibrium of nothing. And it would have stayed that way unless something outside of the physical universe entered the circle.
But you yourself just said that there was nothing outside of the universe. So according to the conditions that you propose yourself, nothing from the outside could have entered the universe. And you also talk about a physical universe. That is nothing, so then it's not a physical universe. Darn, you really seem to mess up several nonsensical concepts here at the same time. This really is top-notch word salad.
But it did not stay this way. Something non-physical, outside of the physical universe, had to have existed to bring the physical universe into existence.
No. Again, you're totally confused, or you are deliberately misrepresenting what physics teaches us about the early universe. There is no scientific theory that proposes that there ever was nothing. The cosmic singularity was not nothing, it was something. It was some kind of system in which all the energy of the universe was concentrated. There is no good reason to believe that it would have needed some kind of outside interference to get to a situation of rapid expansion like the Big Bang. The internal processes of such a singularity could offer a solid explanation for that. Of course, an exploding star, for example, is another mechanism than the Big Bang. But stars are in their stellar equilibrium most of the time. They are stable as long as the outward pressure caused by nuclear fusion is in balance with the gravitational forces. And eventually a star might explode, not because of outside interference, but because of its own internal dynamics. And in the same way, internal processes of the cosmic singularity could have caused it to get to a state of rapid expansion. No gods needed.
So what do we know about the being that created the physical universe?
Well, as it seems, you know nothing about the stuff you're talking about. You have totally failed to understand the basics of cosmic physics, or you have succeeded in deliberately misrepresenting it. So in no way have you demonstrated that there is or ever was some being who made the universe. And now you're going to do what every other Christian apologist is doing. You're going to ignore that your nonsense has been debunked 1,000,000 times, and you're going to build upon your false premises, and you're probably going to mess that up as well.
Here are 6 things that we know about that being. The first one is obvious. He's non-physical. To be outside of the physical universe, he has to be non-physical.
No, if we follow your own premise that there is nothing outside of the physical universe, your supposed God is not just non-physical, he is nothing. Remember? Nothing. Get your act together, you spinach pudding for brains.
Outside of the physical universe, he has to be non-physical. Another word for that is spiritual.
What? Non-physical equals spiritual now? Really? You mean like the alphabet? Traffic laws? Monday, April 27th? That's all non-physical. You think letters, laws, and dates are now spiritual? I mean, the word spiritual already was meaningless, but you somehow managed to even take away its meaninglessness.
And for this spiritual, non-physical being to create the universe, he had to be powerful and have the ability to act.
No, that's only seen from your perspective as a puny human. You're trying to reason on a cosmic scale, yet you produce these silly, mundane, human scale consequences. It's like when a man is shitting and then this little spider gets flushed away into the sewer, and then the little spider thinks like, this must have been caused by a spiritual, all-knowing, all-powerful, non-physical being. No, it was just Nigel, and he was taking a dump. The same applies to your failure to be consistent in your cosmic reasoning. You see, as soon as you start fantasizing that all-powerful and non-physical beings can exist, then why wouldn't you think that there are 100 of them having a farting contest? And this universe is the produce of contestant number 67. He didn't even make it to the semi-finals. Oh, you're so desperately trying to do your cosmic level fantasy universe thinking. But when it comes to drawing your own conclusions, you fall back on a tiny, silly book that they taught you about in your puny church when you were a child.
And if this powerful being was ever going to act, he had to be motivated by something.
No. If such beings as gods could actually exist, they could make universes by accident, or just because they were bored. You seem to be willing to have an open mind if it suits you to ignore all science, but you close your mind again when we are discussing what the existence of gods could actually imply. It's a Pandora's box. As soon as you're willing to accept the concept of gods, you should accept that there could be thousands of them, all creating their own universes.
And this motivated being, if he was ever going to create the universe and the world around us, he had to have some level of intelligence and imagination.
Well, no, to a real god, that would be just like taking a dump and flushing away a spider in the toilet. If I were to be a god, I would pretty much be used to my own intellect and my own capabilities, wouldn't I? A god doesn't create a galaxy and then says, "Oh my, I had no idea that I could do that." A god wouldn't see creating a universe or planet Earth as a particular smart or creative or impressive thing. If you're all-powerful and all-knowing, creating a universe is just another day at the office. But you, as a puny human, might be impressed. But gods would probably be like, whatever. Know what? I'll send them a stupid book telling them how great I am. Let's see what happens. You know what? In the book I refrain from telling them that slavery is bad. I'll tell them that you can beat up your slaves as long as they don't die. Who's going to believe that crap? I'll make it even more funny. It's not allowed to believe in other gods. Hey Zeus, know what? If you do the same thing, it's got to be a mess down there on Earth. Let's get some popcorn. Puny humans, thanks for watching.